Oh, what's up guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be looking at the top 50, yes, 50 point guards in the NBA. This list was surprisingly hard to make because the point guard position is one of the best positions in the NBA, or it's the most deep position. Some of the honorable mentions left off this list were Tyus Jones, Frank Ntilikina, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Mudiay, Corey Joseph, Tony Parker, and Jarrett Jack. So we're going to keep the descriptions kind of sweet and short until probably the top 20, or else this video would be extremely long and I don't really want to bore you guys. So without further ado, let's get into number 50. At number 50, we have TJ McConnell. Last year, he averaged 6.3 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and 4 assists per game. This dude is basically an all-around player, and he's a floor general. He's really pretty good on offense, pretty efficient on defense, and one of the clutchest players in the NBA. At number 49, we have Jerian Grant. Last year, he averaged 8.4 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, and 4.6 assists per game. Grant is amazing on offense for the Bulls, but he is a liability on defense. He's going to be 26 in this next year, so he's got a little bit of time to turn it around, but I really don't think he can improve that much on defense in that little time. At number 48, we have a former #1 overall draft pick, Markelle Fultz. Last year, in 14 games, he averaged 7.1 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game, and 3.8 assists per game. Last year, Fultz seemed to be plagued with injury, and I believe that he can turn it around this year as long as he adapts to playing with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. At number 47, we have Delon Wright. And last year, he averaged 8 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, and 2.9 assists per game. Wright is 6'5", so that's a huge strength for him, being only a point guard in the league. But he has had a rocky career. He's been called up and down from the G League throughout his entire career, so hopefully he's found his home in Toronto. At number 46, we have Shabazz Napier. Last year, he averaged 8.7 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. Shabazz had a surprisingly good year last year after he's been considered bust most of his career, after LeBron James wanted the Heat to pick him. Of course, LeBron left the Heat, so it wasn't really great for them. He was a huge part of the Trailblazers as he was the 6th man, and really not a lot of people are talking about him, and he will be going to the Nets, and hopefully he can light it up there. At number 45, we have Ish Smith, and last year he played every single game, and he averaged 10.9 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, and 4.4 assists per game. Ish Smith has always been a great scorer throughout his career, but he's always struggled on defense, and this year I don't think it will be any exception. Ish Smith, you gotta work on the defense. At number 44, we have Austin Rivers. Last year he averaged 15 points per game, 2.4 rebounds per game, and 4 assists per game. Austin Rivers is easily a top 30 talent, but he does struggle with, working with people in the locker room. And he's going to a Wizards team which has extreme locker room problems, with Bradley Beal and John Wall calling each other out in the public, and then Dwight Howard going there. So I don't think Austin Rivers will be a good fit for the Wizards, but who knows, maybe now that he's done with the Clippers and he's gone from Doc, maybe he'll turn it around and become a great player. At number 43, we have Patty Mills. Last year, he played every single game, and he averaged 10 points per game, 1.9 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game. Patty Mills is a light-up shooter for the Spurs, but he is a liability on defense because he's only 6 foot. At number 46, we have JJ Barea. Last year, he averaged 11.6 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, and 6.3 assists per game. Barea, just like Patty Mills, is a great offensive piece, but struggles on defense as he is also only 6 foot. At number 41, we have Elfrid Payton. Last year, he averaged 12.7 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, and 6.2 assists per game. Payton was once seen as a playmaker with so much potential, but that hype has died down, really. He was traded for a 2nd-round pick last year, and that's it. So Elfrid, really, his value is not through the roof, but he was signed by the Pelicans this offseason, so hopefully, I don't know what he can do. Elfrid Payton, you're really just average at best. At number 40, we have Trey Burke, and last year he averaged 12.8 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, and 4.7 assists per game. Trey Burke was often considered a bust, and he was kind of a journeyman until he found his home in New York, and he had a really good year last year, so hopefully he can keep up this level of play, and we'll see some good things from Trey Burke. At number 39, we have Jordan Clarkson. Last year, he averaged 13.9 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, and 2.7 assists per game. I think Clarkson might have a breakout year as the main scoring option on the Cavs. He really doesn't fit well in good teams, that really showed in the playoffs, but he is really good at scoring, and that's what the Cavs need, and hopefully he'll have a breakout year for my Cavs because I'm a huge Cavs fan, so gotta cross my fingers Clarkson turns into something. At number 38, we have De'Aaron Fox. Last year, he averaged 11.6 points per game, 2.8 rebounds per game, and 4.4 assists per game. Fox is already an elite defender. Yeah, I said it, elite defender in the NBA, and this will only be his sophomore year, so hopefully he can turn it around because he did have a rough rookie season, but he is a great playmaker, so hopefully he'll pair well alongside Marvin Bagley. At number 37, we have Patrick Beverley, and last year he only played 11 games, but he averaged 12.2 points per game, 4.1 rebounds per game, and 2.9 assists per game. Beverley is one of the top defenders in the NBA, and he had one of my favorite moments of the entire year when he locked up Lonzo Ball in one of the first games of the NBA season. I can't really remember if it was the first, but Patrick Beverley, he really doesn't have much of an offensive game, but maybe something with Doc Rivers, he'll, turn it around. At number 36, we have DeJounte Murray, and last year he averaged 8.1 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, and 2.9 assists per game. Murray made the all-defensive team last year, and that is his main strength. He kind of reminds me of Ben Simmons a little bit, but more defense and, of course, less offense. He is 6'5", and I'd say he's going to fit perfectly with Pop. Hopefully Pop turns this guy into a superstar because he sure has that potential. He is only 21 years old, and this guy, he's one of NBA Twitter's favorites, so he's got a little bit of pressure on his shoulders, so hopefully, I'd say if the cards play right, he could be a top 3 point guard in the league. Number 35, we have Rajon Rondo. Last year, he averaged 8.3 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 8.2 assists per game. Rondo was a big piece in the New Orleans Pelicans that completely swept and wiped the Trailblazers off the face of the earth, and he signed with the Lakers this offseason. And I don't think he'll be as good as a fit because already Lonzo and LeBron's there, but who knows? Rondo always has a few tricks up his sleeve. At number 34, we have Yogi Ferrell, and he played every single game last season, and he averaged 10.2 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and 2.5 assists per game. Yogi is elite on offense, but does struggle on defense. He's only 6 foot, just like Patty Mills and JJ Barea. And he's 25, and he signed with the Sacramento Kings this offseason, and I think that was a steal for the Kings because Yogi Ferrell, even though he's a liability on defense, he will bring some much-needed offense to that Sacramento Kings team. At number 33, we have our first rookie, so sound the alarm, I guess. We have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous is 6'6", and I think he reminds me of De'Aaron Fox in his playmaking and defense, but he's 6'6", so he's got a huge height advantage on him. He was drafted 11th by the Hornets and then was traded to the Clippers for Miles Bridges or someone else. But I think this guy is a steal, and I really have him this high up because we don't really have much tape of him and doesn't have much experience. Maybe next year he'll be top 20. At number 32, we have George Hill. Last year he averaged 10 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game. I call George Hill the most average player in the NBA. He's an average scorer, he's an average playmaker, he's average on defense, he's really average at literally everything that he does. He's a boring guy to watch, but I guess he gets the job done. At number 31, we have Malcolm Brogdon. Last year he averaged 13 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, and 3.2 assists per game. As a little side note, Brogdon looks exactly like Oscar from The Office. I mean, it's uncanny how much he looks like Oscar, but let's get on to his basketball. Brogdon, for some reason, I don't really know why, but he's one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. He kind of was plagued with injuries this year, and he had an amazing Rookie of the Year. He even won Rookie of the Year, so he's going to be coming back from injuries, and he's only 25, so maybe he can become elite, which I think he can. Brogdon's 6'5", he's got all the physical tools, and I think he's really got the skill to be an elite point guard in this league. Number 30, we have Kris Dunn. Last year, he averaged 13.4 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, and 6 assists per game. Kris Dunn had a horrendous rookie year. He only averaged 4 points a game, and he was involved in the trade that sent Jimmy Butler to Minnesota. But Kris Dunn had an amazing comeback year. I think he should have been in the discussion for comeback player of the year, in my opinion, because, I mean, he was a great scorer. Again, one of the better scorers in the league, but his defense, of course, was lackluster, and he's got time. He's only 24, so Kris Dunn, he could be a top 5 player in the NBA. Number 29, we have Jeff Teague, and last year he averaged 14.2 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and 7 assists per game. Jeff Teague is a average player again. He's better than average, I'd say, and he's a breath of fresh consistency that this Minnesota Timberwolves team absolutely needs, because that team is not consistent at all. At number 28, we have Fred VanVleet, and last year he averaged 8.6 points per game, 2.4 rebounds per game, and 3.2 assists per game. VanVleet is like a bulldog, if I'm being honest. He's great at defense, and he can hit some buckets when he needs to, especially 3-point shots. And he's pretty efficient on offense and defense, especially defense, but he came out of nowhere. I don't really know what he was doing his entire career. Again, this is only his 3rd year, so I don't really know. He's going to be a big part of this Raptors team if they want to have a shot of making the NBA Finals. At number 27, we have Darren Collison, and last year he averaged 12.4 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists per game. Collison will have a lesser role on the Pacers because they signed Tyreke Evans, so hopefully he'll be a solid bench piece for that Pacers team. And I think that Pacers team, I will make a video about them, but I think they might be better than the 76ers, and they might make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion. Number 26, we have Spencer Dinwiddie. Last year he averaged 12.6 points per game, 3.2 rebounds per game, and 6.6 assists per game. Dinwiddie stepped up when D'Angelo Russell went down, and he surprised mostly everyone, and also Jeremy Lin went down. So Dinwiddie will get some solid minutes this year, and he's also only 25, so he's got time to improve his game, and I mean, he might pass D'Angelo Russell. I don't know. D'Angelo Russell's also pretty young, and I don't think that will happen, but maybe if Dinwiddie just goes absolutely berserk mode, he will pass D'Angelo Russell. Number 25, yes, the halfway mark, we have Reggie Jackson. Last year, he averaged 14.6 points per game, 2.8 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists per game. Reggie Jackson is the X factor for this Pistons team. This Pistons team got all the talent, but Reggie Jackson needs to blend them together. He's a liability on defense, but he can show up when he needs to on offense. Although he's not really that efficient, he can put buckets on the scoreboard. So I'd say he's the X factor. If Reggie Jackson has a good year, I think the Pistons will be a threat in the East. Number 24, we have a probably surprising one, but we have Trae Young. Young really didn't have that great of a summer league for the Atlanta Hawks, and I'd say, of course, he's going to have to carry and put a bunch of shots up, but he's not going to adapt well to this NBA system, or at least it's going to take him a while. He's more of a project, in my opinion. He is pretty much like Steph Curry, where he's not going to come into the league and just tear everything up. He's going to be more of a project, and he's gradually going to, become a great point guard in the NBA, just like Steph Curry, and he will win an unanimous MVP. No, he won't. He probably won't. Yeah, he'll probably be a solid role player, in my opinion. Number 23, we have my boy, Colin Sexton, the young bull from the Cavs. Yes, I ranked him above Trae Young. He had an amazing summer league. It even surprised me, and I have my expectations always high for my Cavs, but he had an amazing summer league, like 20 times better than Trae Young. He locked down Josh Hart, the summer league MVP. Well, he didn't really lock him down. He flexed on him on defense. I'm not really sure what that was all about, but it looked kind of cool, and I expect great things from Colin Sexton. At number 22, this is going to be a sad one. We have Isaiah Thomas. Last year, he averaged 15.2 points per game, 2.1 rebounds per game, and 4.8 assists per game. Isaiah Thomas couldn't replicate what he did for the Boston Celtics when he got traded for the Cavs. That hip injury really hurt him, and he lost most of his explosiveness, and he really can't regain that back. He's 5'9", and he's already at a disadvantage, so I hope he turns his career around in Denver. He's been through a lot, and he's had to work really hard because he's only 5'9". He looks like a midget out there. He is a midget out there. I mean, you got to feel for the guy. He used to be a great player in the NBA, so hopefully he can replicate that in Denver. At number 20, we have Dennis Smith Jr. Last year, he averaged 15.2 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, and 5.2 assists per game. He is one of the most explosive players in the NBA, and he used that explosiveness on offense and on defense. Even though he needs to work on his footwork on defense, he has all the tools, and I think this guy, he's going to be special because he's only 20. So, I mean, you already have so much skill. As long as he keeps working, this dude will be special. At real number 20, we have Terry Rozier. Last year, he averaged 11.3 points per game, 4.7 rebounds per game, and 2.9 assists per game. Rozier was one of the main pieces of the Boston Celtics team that took the Cavs and LeBron, well, mostly LeBron, to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final. They were one game away from winning the championship. Terry Rozier, he's on his contract year. I think he will try his hardest to get as much money as he can. Number 19, we have the highest ranked rookie, I think. Yeah, it should. We have Luka Doncic, and supposedly he was like the best European player ever. I don't watch European basketball, so I can't really speak for everyone else, but a lot of smart analyst people from like ESPN and Bleacher Report say he is the best European player ever, and he's this low on the list because he lacks experience from me. So again, this is my list, not really anyone else's. Maybe on someone else's list who watch European basketball, he would be like top 10, but this is my list, and he's going to be held back by Dennis Smith Jr. because he is on the Mavericks, but hopefully he becomes... I don't really know what I want this guy to become. Maybe he'll become the best player in the NBA one day. At number 18, we have Lonzo Ball. Last year, he averaged 10.2 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game, and 7.6 assists per game. It's kind of weird because Lonzo Ball's actually becoming a little bit underrated. And he's an elite defender. Not really an elite, but a pretty good defender. He doesn't really have that much scoring ability, but he knows how to drop dimes and he can grab the rebound. He is 6'6", so I mean, he's everything you want in a point guard. He's tall, he can play defense, he can pass, but he needs a little bit of scoring. But I mean, why are people underrating this guy? Except Lakers fans, they have him in the top 10. But Lonzo Ball, kind of flying under the radar. At number 17, we have Jamal Murray. Last year, he averaged 16.7 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, and 3.4 assists per game. Jamal Murray is already up there with the best scorers in this league. He has a great jump shot. He can really take the ball in too. He's got great handles, and he kind of lacks defense, but when you're this good at scoring, really, it doesn't matter if you're good on defense or not. Well, of course it does. Jamal Murray, one of the best scorers in the league. At number 16, we have D'Angelo Russell, and last year he averaged 15.5 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, and 5.2 assists per game. Russell had a big problem with the injuries last year. He only played 48 games, and he's 6'5", which I didn't think he was that tall, but he is a great scorer. He's got great handles. He's a pretty all-around player. He comes in at number 16. Hopefully he'll have a breakout year this year, because he is only on the Nets, so he'll be the number one guy. I expect D-Loading to do something crazy this year. At number 15, we have Tyreke Evans. Last year, he averaged 19.4 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, and 5.2 assists per game. Evans was never really considered a point guard. He mostly played shooting guard until this year when he had a breakout season for the Grizzlies, and he got a big contract from the Pacers, and he won't be able to repeat the success he had on the Grizzlies because he was carrying that entire team. But I mean, maybe he's found his role as a point guard. That wasn't working as a shooting guard. So Tyreke Evans, one of the best, top 20? Definitely a top 20 point guard in the NBA. At number 14, we have Dennis Schroeder, the newest addition to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last year, for the Hawks, he averaged 19.4 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game, and 6.2 assists per game. Schroeder will be an elite six-man for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And when I say elite, I mean he'll probably win Six-Man of the Year. The Hawks were never really viewed a lot. They didn't get a lot of national television time, so Schroeder didn't get the spotlight he deserves. And although he struggles on defense, he can put the ball in the hole when he needs to. And Dennis Schroeder, an elite scorer in the NBA. At number 13, we have Ricky Rubio. Last year, he averaged 13.1 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists per game. Rubio is a top 5 playmaker in the NBA, and he is also a top 5 leader in the NBA. When the Jazz lost him in the playoffs, that team did not look like the team that basically destroyed the Thunder. They were kind of lost without Rubio, and Rubio was one of the best floor generals in the entire NBA. So he rightfully deserves this spot at number 13. At number 12, we have Goran Dragic. Last year, he averaged 17.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds per game, and 4.8 assists per game. Now, I'm really not a fan of Goran Dragic. I just don't like the way he plays the game, but you gotta respect it. Goran Dragic is one of the best all-around players in the NBA. He can score, he can play me. He's, again, average, but way better than average. And he's kind of boring in my opinion, but gotta respect it. At number 11, we have Eric Bledsoe. Last year, he averaged 17.7 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. Eric Bledsoe is amazing on offense, an amazing playmaker. Again, a top playmaker and a top scorer in the league, but he does sometimes struggle on defense, and he does sometimes make his team worse. He's not really the best locker room guy. He kind of got cleaned up by Terry Rozier and then said he didn't know who that was, but so he doesn't really have much respect around the league, but he's got a great game, so you gotta put some respect on Eric Bledsoe's name as well. Now we move into the top 10. At number 10, we have Mike Conley. Last year, he only played 12 games, so he really can't really say that he had a bad year, but he averaged 17.1 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, and 4.1 assists per game. When Mike Conley is paired with Marc Gasol, that is an elite duo. Although they're aging a little bit, Mike Conley is 30. I think Marc Gasol is like 33. They're still an elite duo. They almost took out the Spurs team that almost took out the Warriors team that went on to win the championship. Mike Conley, he's a really good point guard when he's healthy. At number 9, we have Kemba Walker. Last year, averaged 22.1 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game, and 5.6 assists per game. Kemba Walker is a top 5 scorer in the NBA. Yeah, I said it. Top 5. Kemba, he's got handles, he's got the dribble moves. The only reason he's not as high up as he should be is because he lacks defensive knowledge and skill and basically IQ in general. Kemba, an elite scorer, top 5 scorer in the NBA. Yeah, that's it. At number 8, we have Kyle Lowry. Last year, he averaged 16.2 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, and 6.9 assists per game. Kyle Lowry would be 100% top 5 point guard in the NBA, but he's basically a choker in the playoffs. He struggles very hard in the playoffs, just like most of the Toronto Raptors team does, including Dwayne Casey. Yeah, he screwed the Raptors in the playoffs, but Kyle Lowry, he is great at really everything. He's not the best scorer, but he's an amazing defender, and he just needs to work on, dealing with the pressure of the playoffs, because if he can't, he's going to be regarded as an all-right player who just can't perform in the playoffs. At number 7, we have John Wall. Last year, he averaged 19.4 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, and 9.6 assists per game. Wall is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. Yeah, his defense is pretty overrated. His scoring ability is also pretty overrated. He can't really shoot. And although he's a great playmaker, he also struggles grabbing a rebound. He's only 6'4". 6'4" is pretty tall, but I'll show you why I'm saying he's only 6'4" after I show you number 6. So why don't I just show you number 6? At number 6, we have Ben Simmons. Last year, he averaged 15.8 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game, and 8.2 assists per game. Now, let me just get something clear. Ben Simmons is not as skillful as John Wall. But Ben Simmons has the more physical tools. Sadly, that's what it has to come down to. Ben Simmons just powers over everyone else who is guarding him because he is 6'10 as a point guard. So he's got great dribble moves. I mean, sadly, he's not as skillful as John Wall, but he's better than John Wall. At number 5, we have Damian Lillard, and last year he had an amazing year. He averaged 26.9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, and 6.6 assists per game. I think Damian Lillard should be a top 3 player in the NBA, but it has to come down to the playoffs. Of course, when you're an elite player, you have to perform in the playoffs as well, and Damian Lillard straight up got locked down in the playoffs by the Pelicans. Pelicans were an elite defensive team, so I guess I gotta cut him some slack, but Damian Lillard had a career year that was sadly shortened by the Pelicans being freaking amazing in the playoffs. At number 4, we have Kyrie Irving, and last year he averaged 24.4 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, and 5.1 assists per game. Kyrie Irving is he's got a lot of things that he's the best at. He's got the best handles in the league, and he's the most clutch player in the NBA. He's only number 4 because of how good the point guard class is. I mean, Kyrie, an elite and special talent, and he's only 26, so really he hasn't hit his prime yet. He's only getting better as he progresses, and he's also on the Celtics, so really he's got everything going for him. I think Kyrie will probably become the best point guard in the NBA very soon. At number 3, we have Chris Paul, and last year he averaged 18.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, and 7.9 assists per game. We saw the importance of Chris Paul at the end of the season, the last 2 to be exact, in the Western Conference Finals. Chris Paul, when he got hurt, the Rockets became nothing. Chris Paul is the best leader in the NBA, probably maybe in NBA history. It's close with Michael Jordan. Chris Paul really motivates his guys to be the best that they possibly can, and Chris Paul is one of the most valuable players in the NBA. I mean, the most valuable doesn't really mean he's the best player or most skillful. He's just the most valuable to his team. At number 2, we have Russell Westbrook. Last year he averaged 25.4 points per game, 10.1 rebounds per game, and 10.3 assists per game. Let's get the cons out of the way first. So Westbrook is, I believe that he makes his teammates worse. I do believe that, but here's the best thing about Westbrook. If you can average a triple-double, not 1 year, but 2 years in a row, you are an amazing player. It doesn't matter if you make your teammates worse. You can carry your team to probably the playoffs. You probably should, yeah. You should be able to carry your team to the playoffs if you're averaging a triple-double. And even if you're stat padding, it's hard to stat pad getting a triple-double and averaging a triple-double 2 years in a row. Russell Westbrook is an elite player in the NBA. At the best point guard in the NBA is Steph Curry. This should be no shock to anyone. We saw what he did in the finals. Although he didn't have the best playoffs, he did struggle in the Western Conference Finals. He did kind of get clamped up by Chris Paul. But after Game 6, when Chris Paul got hurt, Steph Curry, he showed up. Although he did have an okay season because he did struggle with injuries basically his whole season because he only played 51 games. Steph Curry is one-of-a-kind talent. He's best shooter ever, I'd say. He's pretty close with Ray Allen, but I'd say he's still the best shooter of all time. You guys can, discuss what you guys think down below. Is Steph Curry the greatest shooter of all time? It should be no question. Steph Curry is the best point guard in the NBA right now, and for the foreseeable future, he will be. We are witnessing one of the best just scorers and playmakers, not really defenders. He does struggle on that, or else he would be Steph Curry. If he had defense, man, he would be. He'd probably already be top 10 of all time. But I think the question that I want to ask, and I want you guys to answer down in the comments down below, is Lonzo Ball a top 20 point guard in the NBA right now? I have him at 18, and I think he is. Just taking into consideration that Lonzo Ball is a really good defender, and although he does lack scoring, one of the main items people look at when they're judging a player, Lonzo Ball does everything else correct. He can rebound, and he can, be a playmaker, be a floor general. He really is everything you want in a point guard, just minus the scoring. And he really does remind me of Magic Johnson, if I'm being honest. So, definitely not as good as Magic Johnson, but that's he reminds me of. So, of course, answer that down in the comments down below. This should be a long one, so it's tiring, and it took a while to make. So, I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. I'm sorry if I got stuttering and at the end of this video, because I've been in here for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I'm gonna have to edit this video. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about just my list and my commentary just in general. I'm a new commentary, new to the commentary, whatever channel or whatever you want to call it. I'm new to that, so I take any advice you guys can leave down below. If you guys just, even if you guys just hate, I don't take it as hate. I take it as something that motivates me to be better at commentary videos and stuff like that. So if you guys could leave me some advice on how to get better and what I could do to become a better channel in general, because I would be nowhere without you guys. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.